Coming up on Just Us Gals, the power of simply saying no. Lisa Dutton's rules around phones and how she keeps it real. How to have serious talks with your kids, and connection doesn't have to be complicated.
I'm Heather. I'm Jess, and this is Just Us Gals.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Just Us Gals. We have a very special guest today. We have Lisa Dutton in the house. Lisa has two boys. Lisa was my mentor at Global Saskatoon. We worked together. Lisa, you taught me basically how to be on TV, and I'm just so happy to still be friends with you and have you in our space here today. You are one of the gals. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. Happy to be here. And yes, I am a proud boy mom. Thanks for having me.
Proud boy mom. Okay, so Lisa has a 11-year-old and a 16-year-old. So we are really going to pick Lisa's brain today. We're talking about raising boys, but we're also talking about her social media strategy. So Lisa, we like to start every episode off with a win or loss, a parenting win or loss of the week. Do you have any?
It doesn't have to do with like phones or anything social media specific, but my teenager is currently learning to drive. And I'm going to call this yes, which is
scary.
Totally total mind F. I don't know if you can swear on here, but so he drives
do whatever
with
you
me
want
and
on
then he drives with me and he drives with his dad and sometimes both of us together. And I found out this week my husband Colin had come home from driving with him, and so this would be a parenting loss for me. He's like, yeah, he's picked up some bad habits. And I'm like, well, what? Oh, this, that. And it's like, and he says, well, mom does it. Well, this is what mom does. And I will admit my husband is a far better driver, but yeah, having a teenager learning to drive, it makes you realize, like, we'll be driving and he'll ask me questions and I'm like, oh my goodness, I don't even know what to do in this situation. Like, just like obscure little things, you know what I mean? But yeah. But it's like, wow, okay. It's a refresher in learning to drive, really, as a parent too.
True.
You know what? That's the silver lining, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Exactly. And, he threw me under the bus and, my bad habits. We get, as we get more comfortable behind the wheel, I think we develop some bad habits because we become really secure. Yeah.
Completely. My daughter has called me out as well. Not because she started driving, but there was an instance where someone crossed the road not at a crosswalk, and I had to slam on my brakes, and there was no cars around me, and I'm pretty sure I said something along the lines of like, what an idiot. And then for a while, every time after Penny saw someone crossing the road, she would yell, what an idiot. I'm like, oh my God.
Heather is known to have a bit of road rage though.
I do, and they keep me in check though. I'm learning to just like just breathe.
Flash forward 10 years, Heather, and I can just picture Max coming home after a driving session with Penny saying exactly what Colin said to Lisa about her picking up some bad habits. But yours might be of the verbal variety.
Might be anger. Oops.
Oh, that's too funny. Okay, Heather, what do you got this week?
For me, the win is... it's Penny's birthday on Thursday, and so for her birthday we are building a swing set. And it's a win for me because anything that I can do that my kids will play on that I can sit and not be involved is a huge win. So I'm looking forward to them being entertained on it for a long time. So my brother-in-law has one, and we were just at his place, and they played on it alone by themselves for like an hour. And I was like, that is incredible. I will take that any day. Yeah. So between that and the bouncy castle, might have a win-win.
Oh, you're the fun house.
Oh yeah. Anything to make my life easier. Fun house. Yeah.
Lisa, are you the fun house? Were you the fun house when your kids were little?
We always had a big like Canadian Tire trampoline in our backyard. And you will have like so many people just say, no, we don't do trampolines. We always had the trampoline, and that thing is like a magnet. And in all the years, I think the worst thing that happened was like a bloody lip. But yeah, we had Yeah, we always had a lot of kids in the yard. And, I like talking to moms like you who have young kids because when we lived in Saskatoon, we always had a lot of kids at our house. And sometimes it can be overwhelming and it can be like, oh, like no friends over today. And when we moved to Winnipeg, we didn't know anybody. And my house was really quiet and I absolutely hated it. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like, and now like the kids have friends over again and it's great. It's like I like being the house with the noise and the shoes at the door
Yeah.
and you know the basement walls are beaten to heck by mini sticks and it's like it's a pocket of time and then when that phase is over you paint the walls but be the
Yeah.
house with the kids. It's totally worth it. It's totally better than being the bored quiet house because I've been there and I did not like it at all.
Be the
I
Yeah.
house
love that.
that the kids want to come to, right? And it's nice because then they're under your supervision. You know exactly where your kids are. You know they're safe.
Hmm.
Yeah,
That's a
it's
piece of
true.
parenting advice I picked up and I'm running with it. So
Yeah.
I
I'm
know what
liking
you
that
mean about
too for even as they get older. I would love for them to have their friends over so I can keep an eye on them when they're up to no good.
Exactly. And
Hmm.
you'll be lucky enough to, you'll find we're all like-minded in that. You're going to meet a lot of like as your kids grow up, there's a lot of parents in my kids' lives who open the door and welcome the kids in and it's just great to have
Hmm.
that rhythm and
mm-hmm.
that kind of like rotation with people that there's just a lot of people that you know and trust when your kid is there. It's
Hmm.
interesting too. My son came home the other day, my younger one, and he was like, he wanted some kid to come over. He's like, but he said his parents have to meet you first. And I'm like, that's fair.
Mm-hmm.
Great, Yeah.
Yeah.
I
For
love
sure.
and I
That's
love that because for me, I'm always my people pleaser side is like I don't want to be that person where like, well, I have to meet the parents first because then in
Hmm.
my mind I'm like, well,
yeah.
what now do the parents think of me? Right? But I think
Mhm.
if it gives you a peace of mind and I like your reaction where you're like, great, bring them over.
Yeah.
Right? What's the
Absolutely. Yeah.
problem?
Like I mean, it's not like we have to like sit down and have dinner together, but pop by,
No.
say hello for sure.
Hello. So,
Hmm.
with that being said, Lisa, what's your? I know social media right now, the trendy thing is everybody sharing their horror stories about sleepovers and how they don't allow their kid to sleep over. What's
Mm,
your stance on
mm.
sleepovers?
Um, I think it seems to kind of be a phase right now, like the age right around where my youngest is, like kind of like grade 5, 6 in there. I think that they like to do that. We have, there's a handful of kids that my son has sleepover with. My older son's kind of past that stage,
Mm,
like but when it kind of becomes that like I feel like it's right around like 10, 11, 12 in there that they enjoy
Hmm.
it. Um, I personally am comfortable with the group of friends that he has sleepovers with because we know them really well. These are kids that he plays on a team with. These are parents that I
Okay.
see on a regular basis that we know really well. A couple weeks ago, my son had a handful of friends sleep over, and it's like most of the parents came in and stopped by and had a drink, and like we know each
Nice.
other really, really well. If it was like if he came home with a birthday invitation for a sleepover who a kid I didn't know, the answer would be no.
right.
So I'm not completely one way for another or another, but I will say I have to know know the family really well
I think that's a
That's
for
fair
fair.
sure.
rule.
I also like
Yeah.
hearing that because I was kind of stressing about it a bit because I remember when I was a kid, almost all the birthday parties when you reach a certain age were sleepovers,
Hmm.
and
Yeah, and
I
it's right
loved
around
them.
that like
Yeah,
10 years old. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I had so much fun at them. Like I just loved those girls' sleepovers. I remember laughing so hard and like staying up so
Mhm.
late. And so I was like, I want my girls to have that experience, but I am hearing all these other horror stories. But it is a good point. Like there will be with people that I'll know their parents, and I'll trust the households and stuff like that. So that's good to remember that it's not like they're going to a stranger's house.
Totally.
I'll know them.
Totally. I like that. I like that boundary that you're holding there.
Hmm.
So, with that being said, though, Lisa, I really want to pick your brain about social media, kids, and
Mhm.
phones. Um,
Yep.
I don't know. I feel like things can happen at sleepovers, but not just sleepovers. Just how do we safely introduce them to that? What's your approach here?
There was, it's timely that we're talking about this because I don't know if you guys heard of this show, but there was a show recently called Adolescence. Did you
Oh,
guys
yes,
hear about it at all?
Yes.
I
Yeah.
did.
Okay, so kind of just because my kids are a bit older than yours, everybody was talking about this show, Adolescence, and it left everybody shook because it was about worst case scenario, right? And it was about like the darkest corners of the internet. And it had a lot of parents buzzing. I took some notes because I did want to talk about this, just about the
Mm-hmm.
dangers of social media, toxic masculinity, and online radicalization. Like it was like I said, worst case scenario, right? And I think it had everybody saying like we need to take these phones away, and like everybody was going to the extreme. And there's this one, she's a teen parent coach who I follow on social media, ironically, and she had a post about this show Adolescence, and it really resonated with me. And she said every generation has been convinced that the latest teen obsession would lead to their teens' downfall or moral decay. And she kind of lists, she's like, in the 1950s, it was rock and roll. It was like Elvis Presley shaking his hips. You know, everybody thought
Mm-hmm.
the world was ending. She said it was
Right.
comic books. In the 60s and 70s, it was TV. Like, TV will rot your brain.
Mm.
That was what everybody said. And she said the 80s, you know, you got into the video games. Today it's social media and the online world. And she just she made a point that really stuck with me. And she said, screens aren't the problem and social media isn't the problem. It's how teens feel when they log on. And she's like, if they're struggling, they're more likely to fall into a toxic place. If they feel supported, happy, connected in their real life, in their real world, they're going to use social media to create, communicate, and explore just like we're doing right now, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just really
Interesting.
important to, yeah, to determine. And that kind of helped me because I was freaked out by the show too. Like my husband and I watched it
Oh
and we were
yeah.
like, oh my God. And then I'm going to my teenager with all these questions like, is this true that this means
Mm-hmm.
this and this is that? And he's like, oh my God, what is this? What's happening here? But
Yeah.
I think that you really just have to determine what kind of kid you have. Um, and I even look at my two boys, like they're very different. They do both have phones. My 11-year-old has a
Mm-hmm.
phone. He doesn't have Instagram or anything like that. But you know, you have these parents that say um, they work from home. I often say, and I know it sounds bad, I parent from work a lot. I work until 7:30 at
Mm-hmm.
night. So a big part of my day is Johnny getting home and FaceTiming me and having that connection and telling me about his day. And we do that through his phone. He never takes his phone to school, but he does come home and have a phone. And so I think that his personality online would be a lot different than my older son's personality online. He's quite chill.
Mm-hmm.
And I look at some of the things that happen, like posts and stuff on Instagram, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, if 13-year-old me saw that or that happened to 13-year-old me, I would be very affected. But I don't think some kids are. Like
Mm-hmm.
all kids are
Mm.
different, and I don't think it's a boy girl thing. I think that you know, everybody is is just wired how they're wired. Just kind of determining what kind of personality your kids have. And if both your kids are really different, you can be like, oh, she would love this, she would hate this, she would do well at this, she wouldn't. And the online world's kind of the same. And just saying no. Like my youngest has asked for Instagram multiple times. No.
Mm-hmm.
No, you're not getting it. And
Yeah.
he's like, okay. And then maybe a couple months later, can I get an Instagram? No. You can't. Like you're too young. You
Still
can't
no.
get it. And it's just no. The answer is no. Like you have what you have. Be happy with what you got. And sometimes people will say, like, oh, collectively as a group, um, let's not get our kids phones. Have you guys ever heard that? Like,
Mm-hmm.
you have these people saying, like, stay off for as long as you can. And I just think, like, um, I know that there's kids Johnny's age 11. That's kind of like 11, 12. Some of them have phones, some of them don't. The ones who don't have phones, like, the kids are still figuring out and making their plans, and they're still included. They're not.
Okay.
There's kids that he hangs out with. I would say about half of them have phones and half of them don't. And sometimes the parents will say, "Oh, should we get him a phone?" And I'm like, "If he's fine, like
Don't.
without one."
Yeah.
And like they know, oh, this kid just has an iPad at home, and so you message him this way and you message this kid that way and you message
Right.
this kid here. They figure it out. So I don't think
Yeah.
that people should feel pressured into getting a phone for their kid because they think their kid's not going to be included. I feel like from what I've witnessed, the kids without phones, they're still included. The kids find a way to figure it out. It's not rocket science. They can still, even if it's like, hey, can you
Mm-hmm.
text so and so's mom for me? Then you do that. But then on the kind of positive side of it, the one thing that I've been noticing with my kids is the age that my youngest is now is the age that my oldest was peak pandemic when everybody was on lockdown.
Yeah.
So when I see my youngest one taking initiative and making plans, hey, I just texted this person and we want to go here and we want to go there. It really occurs to me like this is a stage for them where I'm no longer making play dates and setting things up with parents. They're taking their phone and taking the initiative and making the plans on their own, and I really like it. And then it kind of occurred to me this is a social developmental stage that I think some kids missed during the pandemic
Mm.
because they were
Yeah.
all locked down and then they kind of came out and they missed that whole kind of era of stepping away from your parents and making your own plans. And so
Yeah.
um, I'm getting rambly here. I think the point I'm trying to make is just uh, determining if your kid really needs a phone and just if your kid doesn't have a phone and their friends do, letting those families know, hey, you know, she doesn't have a phone yet, so if you're trying to get a hold of her, this is her iPad or whatever type of communication that they do have,
Mm-hmm.
or your info, and just as other for other parents to just respect everybody's decision. I hope that people don't judge me because my 11-year-old has a phone, but that's what works for our family because,
What age
like I
did
said,
did Johnny get a phone?
about it would have been about a year ago. So right around like grade before that he had an iPad. The phone, I want to say, yeah, I think it was last summer that we did it. He would be out and
Noted.
about biking and I was at work and he would be like, can I go here? Can I go there? Trying to make plans, and then he'd leave and it was like he would have to come home to reconnect to me because he would need his iPad to do that. Am I making sense?
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It
So,
made sense for your
you
family.
know,
Yeah.
right. So then when he got the phone, he could go out biking or whatever and I would be able to get a hold of him if
Yeah.
I needed. And so I really liked that, and people would be like, "Oh, you can track them on the phone and have like so you always know where they're." I don't want to have
Location.
to do that. I just
Mm-hmm.
want to be able to say to just trust, where are you going? Who are you with? If I need to get a hold of you or if the plans change that you'll keep me updated. Like I'm working. I can't be watching a map of where you're going every minute of the
Fair.
day.
Yeah.
But yeah, for us it was right around that like that summer going into 6th grade. And like I said, what he has on he has his phone, but he doesn't have like Instagram or TikTok or anything like that. I just feel he's too young for that yet.
Yeah.
and
That's fair.
never has his phone at school.
To your point, then, when you say kind of each kid is different, even your boys are different, my girls are different, Heather, I know your girls are different. I guess where do you draw the line just in general over sibling rivalry and like, well, he had a phone, so I should get a phone, even if you know it's not in their best interest, right? Just how do you navigate the
Right.
sibling rivalry or the fighting or whatnot?
So I will say that's one perk of having kids 5 years apart
Mm,
is
Yeah.
there's less sibling rivalry with that age gap. There's more of like a little brother mentor kind of thing. And I've talked to other people who have that. And like there's pros and cons to having kids really close together. Um, and having that age gap, I think that that would be challenging. I think it would be really challenging to say, oh, she's allowed to have social media and you're not. And they're only a year apart. I don't really know how to answer that
yeah, that's
because
fair.
I would say if having a phone is one thing, having social media is another, right?
That's
Like I
true.
think we can
How do
agree.
you
Yeah,
how
that
do you make sure that they're not on social media? Like, do you actually will you check their phone to see
Right,
if
like
they have the
sneaking it.
apps installed? Yeah, because they like, how do you know? That's my concern. Is like, am I once my kids have a phone, like, is it gonna be snoopy and rude and nosy if I'm like, I need to see your phone because I want to make sure you're not messaging any creeps. I don't know. How do I monitor that?
yeah, I my oldest because he's a teenager and I just feel like he's more in tune to like what kids are doing than I am,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And I honestly really appreciate his help with that. Like
Oh,
he's
great.
he knows, you know, I think that he gives his brother advice kind of like or I think maybe not as much he gives him advice. I honestly think he would let us know if he thought that my younger son was doing something,
Yeah.
you know, or looking at something that he wasn't supposed to. But um, no, I know parents who are like, if we pay for the phone, we can pick it up at any time and look at it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and but there's also ways of covering that up. There
Hmm.
just needs
Yeah.
to be trust built in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they really wanted to look at something online, they don't even have to use their phone. They can go to the kids
True.
whose parents don't give a shit and look at it on
Mm-hmm.
that kid's phone. Like
Yeah,
the
they find a
trust
way.
just needs to be there. Yeah, the trust
Mm-hmm.
needs to be there from the get-go. And one thing that I do talk to my kids about is just like I'm in the news industry. We get the press releases from police and our CMP. Sextortion is a very real thing. It happens in your community. It happens in my community. Often the target of that are boys, you know, exactly the age that
Mm-hmm.
my kids are. And I will sit them down and say, like, I want you to understand this story. This is happening to kids in Manitoba. This is happening to kids in Winnipeg, just like you. And this is
Mm-hmm.
super weird, but this is how it happens. And I explain to them like what people do to you know, sextort these young kids and just help them understand like and they're not like freaked out by it or anything, but just helping them know like that it is happening in their communities. It's not just like something that you hear about. It's very real, and how to spot it and teaching them to like empowering them in saying if you ever see something or if somebody ever says something that you have to go to an adult, like if somebody says they're going to harm themselves, or if somebody sends an inappropriate picture or you receive an inappropriate picture, like you have to, or you hear about something being spread around your school, you have to tell somebody. And it doesn't need to be me or it doesn't need to be your dad, and it can be anonymously, but
Mm-hmm.
you have to know what's wrong, and you have to know, you know, like the warning signs of people with predatory behavior, or you know, however whatever it may be, and just letting them know that they have to go to an adult in some capacity, whether it's anonymously or you know it's a your parent or a teacher or
Mm-hmm.
something. but
Oh, I love that.
telling them like
Keeping it real.
if you see, yeah, yeah, and they're not too young. Like I don't think a kid who is 10 years old is too young to say, hey, I want to explain to you something that's happening that, bad people are doing to harm kids. And it's just like when we were growing up, we were scared of like kidnappers.
Yes.
And we were warned what to do in those situations. It's like we just have to warn our kids about the realities of people on the internet and some of the weird, twisted ways that they can worm their way into a kid's life, and just let them know what to watch for and how to deal with it.
Yeah, so giving them that knowledge so they know, yeah, like you said, what to do and when it's wrong. Because I feel like it can
Touche.
be easy to
Yeah.
maybe not even recognize what's happening if you haven't been told. So, yeah, give them all the knowledge.
And you read about how like somebody starts talking to you and somebody starts charming you and buttering you up. I think that this would be, like more a concern for teenagers. And then they ask you to send a photo. Like you have to explain to them. And it's very real. They're news stories that we read, quite often on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And so just explaining like this is happening, this is what it looks like. You have to be aware of this, and just letting them know that they can come to you and they never have to be scared to, just
Yeah.
we're here for you and we're here to help you and yeah.
Oh, I love that, Lisa. So I want to dig deep into your boy knowledge here. Just kind of springboarding off of what you just said. Is this the hardest part of parenting? Like, bigger the kids, bigger the problems. What has been the hardest stage thus far for you?
Oh my goodness. I think it's all challenging in a different way at a different time. Like it's every age brings its own challenges. Like at one, I think back of that year of one where there's still very much a baby. A lot of moms are still nursing. They're going back to work. Then they send their kid off to a daycare and their kid catches something every second day and it's your first year back at work, and just like that being such a challenge and being so defeated, in those moments of just trying to like get your kid to a daycare and they're screaming and they're sad and you're guilty and you're going to work and then they're sick all the time, and that being really hard. Now it's like if one of my kids are sick, I make sure that they have some Advil and some ginger ale and that they're comfortable and they're fine. And so those days don't come with as much stress, but I think that I've been lucky in just that we really truly get along with our kids, and I think that I like to think that they like to hang out with us. We like to hang out with them.
Sweet.
And we haven't really had any like big catastrophic issues or anything like that. But the one thing that my friends and I talk about all the time, and I think it will be like this for you guys too, like we never hung out with our parents like our kids hang out with us and get together as families. Last night, our family went over to another family's and we all hung out. Like the amount of times we did that growing up, I don't even know if we ever did. But like we spend more time with our kids, I think, than I spent with my parents.
Okay, I like that.
Or my husband spent with his parents. So I think that is a good thing. And yeah, having teenagers, like you say, the bigger the kids, the bigger the problems. I I don't know if I can really say that. I think that
Okay.
it's funny because they are they are like these big people, grown-up people looking more like grown-ups, but then there's these moments that you do still realize they are so young. And that they are still kids, and I just always have to remind myself okay, so think of myself in grade 9 or think of myself in grade 11, and
Right.
how we're remembering, just remembering what it was like to be that age. And the teenage years are, yeah, they bring their own challenges, but sometimes I think, I've talked to my friends before, and my one friend always has this good advice. She's like, is he upset about this, or are you upset about this? Is he
Hmm.
stressed about this, or are you stressed about this? And that's one thing that really resonated with me. I'm like, yeah, you're right. It's not really bothering him, it's bothering me, or it's not really stressing out him, it's stressing out me. I'm a worrier though. I'm
Yeah.
like the person in the family who stays up at night worrying. I think, like, as moms, a lot of us do that.
Yeah.
Um, but the one thing that I will say is, when I look back, most of the things I worried about, whether they were 1 or 5 or 10 or 15, I wish I wouldn't have worried.
Hmm.
Okay. Yeah.
Like, it's just, they're fine. It's all
That's a good
good.
reminder. Thank you.
Yes, yeah. It's just, man, like, I wish that I wouldn't have let that keep me up, because
Yeah.
it's just
It
fine.
was
And
okay. Yeah.
the the most important thing is just being a strong family, and knowing that they can come home to their safe place every night, and they got good parents they can count on. And that really is the most important thing. And
I
the saying, like, the days are long but the years are short, that has
yeah.
always stuck with me, because now, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, well, you remember just like working mornings and having little kids, and just like being so beyond exhausted. But
What I,
now, like,
Lisa,
my son's going to be in grade
thinking,
12, graduating
oh, that's,
graduating
Right.
next
I
year.
remember when he was 4 years old. So, Heather, just to paint a picture for you and the listeners, is I covered Lisa's maternity leave when she was on mat leave with her second son, her oldest.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember him at the fashion shows when he was 4 years old, just bopping around. So I find it very hard to believe that he's 16 already. But I covered your mat leave, Lisa, and when you came back, me as like a 24, 25 year old, whatever it was, I had no idea what you were going through, right? Just, oh, Lisa's back. But literally your
Yes.
mind is exploding coming back to work for the first time as a mom of two, still
Yeah.
postpartum, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, it's just funny that like little me had zero concept of it. And I'm sorry I didn't support you in the way you needed to be, but like, when you're 20 something, you have no clue, right? But
No
now as a
clue.
mom, you're like, oh God, she had a heavy load and you had no clue about it.
Yeah. You have to go through it.
No.
You do have to go through it.
Yes, yes. And you guys, like, as young moms, it's just the level of exhaustion. I think, like, just pure physical exhaustion some days.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I
Hmm.
felt
And for
that.
you to
I
wake
felt
up and do
that.
a morning show, ooh.
Yeah.
It was, yeah, crazy. But you talk about, like, the swing set, and the just letting them play and kind of wearing them out so they sleep at night. But
Yes.
oh man, I think if I could say, like, the days are long but the years are short. Like, it has become so emotional
Oh,
in the high
yeah.
school years. You're like, you kind of look at it as like, we only have a couple more summers, we only have a couple more Christmases, and that's not true. You don't
Hmm.
lose your kid when they graduate high school and go away. But you look at their childhood as,
Mm-hmm.
until grade 12, and all
Limited.
of a sudden you just feel this, yeah, you just feel
Oh,
this
that gave
sense
me
of
shivers.
panic. But
Me too. I have them.
Yeah, I
yes,
know.
it is.
Oh,
It's sad. Like,
they're
I
turning
have been
6.
crying. People are posting these, like, graduation posts and stuff, and I'm just like, I can't with the graduation posts.
No.
It's like, this kid, is a baby in my
Mm-hmm.
mind. But I know that you guys have a lot of fun on your podcast, and I think it's great that you're doing it. And, like, Jess, when I went to work and I got to hang out with, like, 25-year-old Jess and Joelle, I loved that.
I
Like,
remember you
that
were
was
like
like a little.
asking like, when can we hang out? When can we hang out? We're like, sure, come on out with us. But like, we're like, are we cool enough to be hanging out with Lisa? Like,
You're just like, I need a break.
it Oh
Totally.
man. But you sit down and we often talk about like our stresses and our worries and teenagers. I will say it's been a really, how sometimes like you feel like, oh, like you're a really good newborn mom or you're a really good toddler mom. Like being a teenager parent, if you can just step back and chill out a bit and have fun with them, it can be so much fun. They're funny and they're figuring it all out and muddling their way through it and just enjoy it and have fun with it instead of constantly worrying and stressing about it because like I
We're trying to
said, like and,
control.
and I need to take my own advice. And I think even the past couple months I have been. I've just and like I said, my friend saying, like, is this something that is bothering you or like is your
Hmm.
kid truly struggling with this or is this just something that you're worried about? And I'm like, yeah, you're right. Um,
Hmm.
but just focusing on enjoying the stage of 16, just like you savor the stage of like 1 or 2 or 3.
Hmm. So I love it. You seem to take it all in stride. Connection, communication seem big in your household, which I absolutely love. So when you talk about, or if when we talk about navigating tricky conversations, how do you navigate that? For example, like this is actually a question from my sister. I have a 7-year-old nephew, and just this is the era. This is the Me Too era, right? It's all about consent. Like,
Mm-hmm.
have you talked
Mm-hmm.
to Jesse about that? Now that he's 16, he might be getting into relationships. Like, how do you navigate all of that?
They do they do teach them and talk to them about that at school in length. And I do think that teachers do a really good job of delivering that message. Whether it be sex ed, health class, the different classes that they take in school, um, they they learn about that and they know about that. And I think that we talk about things as a family and we just try to not be like, tonight I need to talk to you about something, and like sit down and make it
Yeah.
all weird. Like we just
Yeah.
these are conversations sometimes that you like have on a family road trip or
Hmm.
like just around the supper table and just kind of not just keeping it light, making
Hmm.
it not feel so stressful and heavy and just always just being conversational about it so it
Like an
doesn't
off the
feel like a
cuff,
big
like info tidbit, just and then move on.
yeah, 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 and just not really have to make it like a time and a date of a big heavy conversation. But we're a very like um I think a lot of families are like just try to be like a safe space like when you're at home and it's just like our 4 unit and you have questions you want to ask, like this is where you ask them and this is where you talk about them and just keep it light. Not that you're making light of a heavy subject, but just always keep the air kind of a space that people feel like
Hmm.
they can open up and talk and not make it like a set sit down conversation.
Hmm.
And sometimes, like, man, I will tell you, this World Junior Hockey trial, the
Oh.
P. Diddy stuff
Hmm.
going on, like, kids, they absolutely hear about that.
Hmm.
We watched when the Jets were still in the playoffs one night. We were all up watching the Jets game right after a national newscast came on, and it was all about the World Junior trial and just using stuff like that. Um, okay, you're going to watch the story and then you're going to talk about it a little bit, quite
Hmm.
candidly. Like, this is what's
So
going
those
on. This is
opportunities
what
do come
happened.
up.
Yes, and just using those times. And I don't know if 7 years old is the time to do it, but my 11-year-old can definitely handle conversations like that. And it's also they also give you a cue just when they're done talking too. Like if they want to know something or if they want to ask you a question, they'll come to you and you'll start answering it. And even like if I go to like, if I'm going on too long, like I feel like I am right now, like John will be like, I'm good.
Never.
Yeah, no, I'm good. I know. We're good.
Yeah.
We
We're
got it.
Wrap it
and
up,
then,
mom.
you know,
Yeah.
yeah. But just taking those opportunities and those stories that are kind of front and center, like the kids hear about these stories. They absolutely do. And if it's not on the news in
Great
their
idea. I
living
love
room,
that.
they'll hear about it at school from somebody. And I do think that
So it's almost like,
sometimes
I feel like, no, I was just going to say, so what I'm taking from this and what I'm going to do is these bigger topics of conversations, I'm going to make sure I have notes, not, not written down, but prep myself for when the opportunities come up. So I'm like, okay, here we go. I'm ready. Like I was been waiting for this opening to start talking about this. Because I'm the kind of person where like I'll panic on the spot and be like, oh shoot, I should have said this. Oh shoot, I meant to tell you this and I meant to do that. So I'm going to start like, prepping myself for when I can naturally have big conversations with my kids when they pop
Heather,
up.
that happened the other week with you. Is Heather was
did.
at the park, Lisa, and there was a really creepy man who was just staring at the mom and the kids at the park, and she took that opportunity to talk to Penny about tricky people and those situations. So I feel like you're already doing it.
But there was also a lot I should have said. I wish I was more prepared.
Right.
Instead of
Fair.
now, I would be like, hey, Penny, remember that guy at the park? Like, I don't necessarily want to do that. So it's like, okay, this is a good
Mentally
reminder to
prepared.
like, just be a little bit more mentally prepared for those big conversations so that when it does come up, I'm not left being like, shoot, I wish I had more to say.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, for sure. And I think also like how willing, and some parents aren't, like I'm pretty willing to share experiences that I've had with my kids, and my husband is too, like just certain experiences. Like, one time I was in the mall and this happened to me because like there were some men following me, and it kind of like just using your own, somebody was walking too close to me or something like that. And when that does happen, to just share those moments with your kids. When your kids are in junior high and they had a shit day, tell them about a day that you had a shit day in junior high. When your kid gets dumped by a boy, tell them about the time that you did and how it felt and how you made it through and how much comfort there is in that,
Make them
in
feel less
just
alone
being
in the situation.
totally just being willing to share a little bit of yourself with them. Any type of story that can help them kind of relate. And there's nothing that's going to connect with them more and resonate with them more than you telling them something that happened to you or how you felt in a certain situation.
And back to connecting with them. It all comes back to connection, right? Just talking and connection. I love that. That's my
openness.
takeaway from this episode, Lisa. I love your approach to parenting and just your relationship with your boys. And it's palpable. I mean, I watch your life from afar online, but just like, I don't know, your family unit just seems so amazing. So this is exactly why we wanted to talk to you, because I know you have so much to say and you're so articulate, and I love listening to it.
I feel like I'm rambling a lot, and it's funny because I know we were talking about the phone thing and the social media thing, and just I think that my final message is always try to have your kids picking people over the phone. Like I think that it would be a red flag for me if say your little daughter has a friend named Sally who she loves going to the park with, and if your daughter gets a phone and is on it and you say let's go to the park with Sally and they're like no, I'm good, red flag. Like you want them in the real world, and you want that to kind of be secondary.
I have one more question.
Oh yeah.
Just this triggered my memory, and this was actually a question from a follower. Is I feel like you can translate that to video games. I think they're having a hard time with their
Yes.
son and the video games. Is that kind of a
Yeah.
similar situation, or how do you regulate the amount of time they want to be on that video game?
Well, yeah, you have to, and that's on you. That's work. Like especially during the pandemic, like here it got so weird for so long. The kids weren't allowed to do anything. And it was truly exhausting as a parent to be like, okay, what are we going to do today to keep them, off video game, off iPad, out doing something? And it was like,
Sounds
we did
daunting.
so many like walks and hikes and random things that actually, hindsight, my kids are like, we need to do that again. Like this random willy nilly stuff we did during the pandemic, just as like something to
Sure.
do. How how much it
It
stuck with
speaks
them and they
volumes, though, I
enjoyed it.
feel.
It really does. Like, just you have to shut it down. And sometimes you can't just say to a kid, like, get off your device. Sometimes, if it's really becoming a problem, you have to say, get off your device. We're going for a bike ride. Or get off
Hmm.
your device. And as a parent, you need to like take the initiative and lead them and do the thing. But it's just like keeping them busy in the real world and just making sure that they're picking people over the devices for the most part. But just the more things that you can keep them busy doing and keep them active. And the screen time is fine. Like my boys love like sitting down playing Mario Kart, and like they
Yeah.
love they love video games. There's no question. But it's just, yeah, you have to determine if it is consuming them and if it's isolating them. Because a lot of the games that they play online, they do play together.
Hmm.
And, like NHL or Madden or whatever, there's five kids screaming. You're playing a video game, but you're playing with people, that's good.
Hmm.
But
Okay. Yep.
if it's becoming really isolating, my advice would be, yeah, you got to tell them to get off, and you have to be ready to get up and move them and have a
Hmm.
plan to divert their attention, kind of thing, away from it. Uh, but yeah, the video gaming, I'm not into video games. Are you guys into video games?
No, I play
It's,
Mario Party every now and
I was gonna
then.
say Mario Party. Give me a Super
Yeah.
Nintendo or an N64, and
Yeah,
like see you never. But
I need an
like,
old school gaming
yes,
system. Yeah.
yeah,
I know. I think it's hard for us to understand how addictive they can be for people who really like them, you know?
I can
Yeah.
see that.
But
Well, Lisa,
mhm.
thank you so much. We're gonna leave off with what are you, when you look at the big picture, what are your hopes for your boys before we leave you?
Honestly, just to be a stand-up good person. Like, just
Hmm.
laugh, live light, and just be a stand-up good person. At this point, like, my oldest, you have kids talking about university, and like, I can't say, oh, I want you to be a doctor, I want you to do this or do that. I just want my kids to be good guys and surround themselves with good people
Hmm.
and laugh every day. Just try
Well,
to have fun living your life. Just, yeah, I think just happiness and treating the people around you well is really, really important. And if I started with a parenting loss, I'll end with a parenting win. My youngest got in a little, just like minor trouble at school last week, and his teacher phoned me, and I was like, and just like, I'm gonna follow up with him, and don't worry, and there'll be consequences at home. And she was like, he's a good kid. Like he's a good boy. He's a sweet boy. He's like a class clown, right?
hmm,
So he can get in trouble in that regard, but it's just like just being told that your kids have a good heart.
Hmm.
It means the world. And go out of your way, like this has probably happened to you guys, or you've probably done this before, but keep doing it. Like when somebody's kid treats your kid really well, tell their parents that.
oh, I like
Like
that.
every once in a while you just have
Cute.
those moments, like, and just go out of your way and tell their parent, you're raising a good kid. I want you to tell you, like, that they did a
Good,
really
good.
nice thing for my daughter today.
I know, I would love to hear
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. Me too. It's fun because it's like such a thankless job, right? So it's every now and then
Yeah.
just to have someone say to you, like, by the way, like, kid's great. You've done good.
Give yourself
It's
a
like,
pat on the back.
big win.
Yes. But just
Yeah.
just wanting them to be just happy and treat people around them well. That's the most important thing, I think. Yeah.
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 I love that.
Perfect. Lisa, thank you so much. I guess it is our time to close. So if you are listening, please give us a follow on Instagram and TikTok at Justice Gals Podcast and shoot us an email. We love when you're part of the conversation. Tether, what's our email? Chatwiththegals@gmail.com.
Chat with the gals.
Oh, and please review and rate us because that's how we grow. So, Lisa, I was so happy to have you part of the gals today. Thank you so much for your wisdom, your insight. You are a veteran mom, and you're absolutely killing it. And you know what, Lisa? You're doing a job. So, give yourself a pat on the back.
Oh, thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, you go enjoy your Sunday.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.